Let me ask you a question. If I asked you right now to find a photo you shot maybe 10 years ago, could you actually find it? Maybe it's a wedding photo of a specific guest, perhaps a picture of a bright green racing car you shot at a track day, or maybe a portrait of someone you photographed years ago. For most photographers, the honest answer is probably not, because the longer we shoot, the bigger our archive gets and the harder it becomes to actually find and then use those images. That's exactly the problem Excire Foto is designed to solve, and after testing it on my own archive, which is frankly ridiculous in size, I can see why this software has just been voted Best Imaging Software by readers of Photography News. Hi, I'm Adam Duckworth, the editor of Photography News and an award-winning pro photographer and filmmaker. And like many photographers, I've been shooting digitally for a long time now. But after more than 2 decades of shooting, the archive has grown to about 150 terabytes of storage. Yes, 150 terabytes. Now everything's backed up in RAID with off-site copies for safety, which is great for security, but terrible when you're trying to find something quickly. My folders are organised by dates, locations or events, which seemed logical at the time, but if you don't remember exactly when something was shot, finding a single image can turn into a serious treasure hunt. So what does Excire Foto actually do? It's a standalone AI-powered photo management tool designed to analyse your images and make them intelligently searchable. Available for Mac and Windows, it can handle both photo and video files, which is useful if you shot a lot of hybrid content. Although so far, I've been focusing on it with my photo archive. Getting started is straightforward. Install the software, point it at your photo folders and let it analyse the images. Now if your archive is large, that first scan will take time. In my case, I left it running overnight while it ingested folders and analysed everything. But with so much storage to go through, I've prioritised my more recent images. Now one of the first things Excire does is automatic keywording. Instead of manually tagging images, which, let's be honest, most of us forget to do, the AI scans every image and assigns descriptive keywords. It recognises things like objects, colours, scenes, people and environments. Suddenly, thousands of images that were buried in folders become instantly searchable. Photos I'd completely forgotten about suddenly popped up again. And then there's natural language search. This feature, it really impresses me, and it's been able to use natural language. So instead of digging through folders, you simply type in what you're looking for. So, for example, red sports car on track, or bride holding bouquet, or smiling people outdoors. Excire actually understands what you mean, and then it pulls up relevant images from across your entire archive within seconds. It feels a bit like using Google search, but for your own photography library. Another thing most photographers struggle with is duplicates and burst shots. If you shoot sports like I do, weddings like I used to do, perhaps wildlife or anything fast-paced, you'll know how easy it is to end up with hundreds of almost identical frames, especially if, like me, you tend to keep your finger down and use that motor drive. Now Excire automatically groups similar images in burst sequences so you compare them side by side and quickly decide which one is the keeper. It can also detect duplicate files across drives, which helps free up storage space you didn't even realise you were wasting. And with the escalation in price of hard drives, that can save you some money. Now people organisation is another strong feature. Excire doesn't just recognise faces, it allows searches based on facial attributes, numbers of people or expressions, and you can group together people once they're identified. So if a client asks for the dreaded all the photos of me from that event, what used to be a long search suddenly becomes a 5-minute task. Importantly, all this facial recognition happens locally on your computer, so there's no uploading images to the cloud, for example. Excire also helps with photo culling, which is honestly one of the most soul-destroying parts of photography. So instead of manually reviewing thousands of frames, the software groups similar images together and highlights the stronger shots, helping you narrow down selections much faster. That means you get to the creative editing stage much quicker, which is where photographers actually want to spend their time. Now another interesting feature is Excire Analytics, and the more you import, the better information you have. This gives you insights into your archive, things like which cameras you use most, favourite focal lengths and perhaps shooting trends over time. It's not just interesting from a technical perspective, it can actually help inform future creative or equipment decisions. The key thing about Excire Foto is that it doesn't try to replace Lightroom, Photoshop or your editing software. Instead, it focuses on solving one very real problem, making huge photo libraries usable again. For me personally, it's turned an archive that I used to dread searching into something genuinely useful. I've rediscovered old images, removed duplicates and massively reduced the time it takes to find files for clients. And that alone can save hours of work. If you've been shooting for years and your archive is starting to feel more like a digital black hole, software like this can make a big difference. So if you want to spend less time hunting for files and more time making great images, Excire Foto is definitely worth checking out.